Check.
This is Random Urban Memories, brought to you by the Rum Boys. You've seen, heard, or felt it on the streets. Well, we're here to talk about it.
In 3, 2, 1.
Hello, and very welcome to this very special interview episode of Random Urban Memories with only one of your Rum Boys today, and that's me, Shane. Now, why is this episode so special? Because it's literally our first interview episode. And we got in, and I managed to draft in Kevin from his YouTube channel, Tech Showdown. Alright? And what Kevin does all day, is review PC hardware. Anything that can go around or in a PC, he will baseline test and stress test and, comparison test, whatever it may be. And that just happens to align with my own personal hobby, which is, PC hardware. Whenever I get to, shop around and build my own PC, that's underneath the desk right now. And that only happens every 3 to 4 years. But I depend on some of the statements that some PC hardware reviewers on YouTube make. And that's actually ties into how we actually met. Kevin had posted a video about some hardware that I placed a comment on. He replied within 3 minutes. I was a little bit surprised because I'd been following Kevin for a year. It's a bit of a celebrity moment, and after he had posted his reply, my response was, do you want to do an interview? Even though I had no idea what the fuck I was going to ask him. He goes, yep, hit me up, and I hit him up with a insanely large list of interview questions, some of which overlapped and, it didn't make sense or whatever, but I just wanted to be sure that he knew that I really wanted to interview him, and he was really chill about it. And we did have an interview, and it was very, very insightful. The premise of the interview is, and this is, for all of you guys who aren't tech nerds or anything like that, guys, stay tuned in. The premise of the interview was to talk to somebody who is in the YouTube world, who's a full-time YouTuber, what it's like growing up, moving up, sustaining your level in this new media world. Yeah. And that's what I wanted to know. That's what I wanted to see what his day was like. What does he do all day? What does it take to make those videos? What does it take to put up those videos? What does it look like? And that was the whole aim of the game. And only some of it, right around the middle, is a discussion and an opinion giving about the state of the hardware as it is coming towards the the third quarter of 2017. So, yeah, of course there's going to be hardware discussed, but the main aim was discuss the world of new media as it reflects our current position as a small podcast with only YouTube parallel, really, really secondary at the moment, And I have to say, it was fantastic to talk to him. He gave some sage advice. He gave some really good guidance, and really good forward-driving guidance. And it was an absolute pleasure to talk to him. I mean, we ended up talking 4 hours, 52 minutes on the last chat. So that just goes to show how chatty we actually were in all conversations about everything under the sun. But the interview itself is only 44 minutes. And I just wanted to impart that as well. The Kevin that you see on his channel is Kevin from Tech Showdown. But when you go and chat to him, he's a chill dude. He's a really chill dude. He's someone you can easily just simply have a good discussion with, whatever subject may be. And it was a real pleasure to actually go and have that chat with him. I didn't expect that. I didn't know what to expect, actually. But to be confronted with that and have that kind of conversation, absolute pleasure. I'll have that any day. But anyway, without further ado, to use the old cliche, I just want you to hop into this interview, see what you think, garner what you can, and yeah, it's our first interview episode, and thank you very much to Kevin for giving us the time of day and being so pro about it. The interview is uncut. There's not a single edit within it. That's how on track he is. And I'll say it again, it was such a pleasure to go and chat with him. So, off we go. Hop into the interview, listen in, look in, and again, check out Kevin on his YouTube channel, Tech Showdown. Hello and very welcome to Kevin from Tech Showdown. Thank you for giving us your time. It is great to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, bro. How about you?
Not too bad, not too bad. And I'm really looking forward to this interview. We've had a lovely chat before we started recording, and I'm sure we'll have many more chats. You're a fascinating guy. You're a cool guy.
So you, Shane.
So let's get started. I'm going to start at the most basic and beginning question. How did you fall into this? How did you get into the hardware reviews at all?
Yeah, so it was kind of by accident, sort of too strong of a word, but it just kind of happened. I was still a student studying engineering, and I had started getting back into tech, and I saw what people were doing in terms of the reviews and that, and it looked really fun, and I wanted to kind of get on board with it. So I made my first review of a graphics card. It was the R9 290 back then, a power color one, and people quite liked it. I'd played with YouTube a bit beforehand, doing sort of game videos, doing some StarCraft 2 casting, and that had gone okay. Some people had liked it, but once I did that, I noticed that I had, I don't know, my subscribers went from like 10 to 30 or something, so I was like, wow, I've hit the jackpot. And people seemed to like it, and I enjoyed it as well. So I started doing it just as a bit of fun, and it kind of carried on from there. And it wasn't anything I was really set up, planning on doing or set up to do. And it wasn't a subject before that time that I've always been into PC tech, but I wasn't like an enthusiast or anything like that. And I wouldn't have even considered myself a tech enthusiast when I started my tech channel. I kind of grew into an enthusiast as I went along. So that was good. I kind of grew with my audience as well, I think, because a lot of the guys that first subscribed to me probably didn't know that much about tech as well. And so I kind of grew over time. So, that's kind of how I fell into it.
And was there a particular point? Was it a certain amount of subscribers, or was it a certain amount of feedback, or even getting sponsorship from Playtech? Was there a specific point at which you turned around and said, you know what, I'm going to stick at this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this full time.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if there was a specific time. It all kind of progressed. I suppose naturally. It just kind of grew and grew, and I didn't really notice. I'd finished. I'd been doing it. I was doing the channel while I was still at uni, and then when I finished my bachelor's, then I thought I would go into sort of like a job in the automotive industry, and I did for a short period of time, because I did set myself up for a management position. But I just like doing the channel more. So I kept with this, and I've really enjoyed it. There was no kind of definitive time for me. I think that's certain channels they definitely have, they'll make a video saying going full time or something. With me, I never did that. It just kind of worked out that way. And yeah, it's been quite good being a full-time YouTuber. A lot of people think it's a basic or very easy thing to do, but it's certainly not. And I do videos, or I'm testing things, or all of that pretty much 6 days a week. I usually only have one day off, which is Sunday, and every other day I'll be doing things in some capacity. I think people forget that you might watch a video that's 10 minutes long, and you think, well, it only took them maybe 10 minutes to shoot that video, and maybe half an hour to shoot all the B-roll for the video and maybe an hour to edit it. So they think the entire video took an hour and 40 minutes to make. And that's not the case, because it's like about maybe 50 to 60% of the time taking to make my videos is the actual testing and getting the hardware set up. You know, if I'm testing a certain motherboard, you have to put the motherboard in, put all the system together, boot it up, you know, do all your testing. It can take a while, and it's never as straightforward as well as you can imagine. The sometimes you run into issues in that, and it gets delayed. Just the other day, doing it for my B350 versus X370 Crossfire video, the B350 I was using had horrendous trouble. It took me about 2 hours to get the overclock stable on it. It was just horrendous. I was just sitting there trying to get it sorted. So yeah, it can take a while. So I think that being a full-time YouTuber is a lot more involved than a lot of people, and that's just talking about the videos. There's also getting the products and working with companies and that. So it's kind of, in that sense, it's more like being a small business owner to a certain degree, or like an independent contractor or something like that. So it can be quite involved, but no, for me, there was no sort of definitive time when I switched over. It was just something I was enjoying doing, so I just kept doing it long after I finished my degree.
And tell me, is there what's the kind of reaction when you tell people? I know it's more acceptable because we ourselves as Random Urban Memories, like we're breaking into a whole new world of podcasting. Parallel to that, we're having YouTube, our YouTube channel as well, and as it has become now more acceptable in our generation or whatever, but still, when you tell people, if people ask you, Kevin, what do you do all day, every day, and you go, I'm a YouTuber, what's the kind of reaction you get?
It depends on, I would say, the generation nicely, of the person you are telling that to. Surprisingly, the much older generation, I suppose you might call them the greatest generation, which is sort of like my grandparents' generation, the people in their 80s now, have been quite acceptable. That just might be because it's my grandparents, but they've been quite good with it. You'd find more middle-aged people will react to it differently. It's mainly people that don't understand how much work gets put into it, and how difficult it can be sometimes, and how much self-motivation it takes as well. That's, I think, a big point that a lot of people forget about, that if you work a regular job, you will have like external motivation, be it money because you need to pay your rent or your mortgage or whatever it might be, or the fact that you have your boss, you know, so when you wake up in the morning, you'll be like, oh, I got to get to work, you know, your motivation is because I don't want to get in trouble with my boss or something like that. With YouTube, it's very easy to not do anything because you're your own boss. If you want to wake up at 1 in the afternoon and not make a video that day, there's no one telling you should have to. And money-wise, it's quite difficult when you're first starting out. A lot of people will often ask YouTubers how much money they make, and they won't get a reply. And often that's not because they want to keep you in the dark. It's because a lot of us are worried because I think legally you're not allowed to. Because of legal rules in terms of service with Google and YouTube, you can't disclose that. I may be wrong about that though, but that's just something I've heard. So you kind of don't have those two main motivators that other people do. So for me, my main motivation is holding myself to a standard, which that standard is that I try to get a video out every 2 or 3 days, and also for my fans, because you guys, the people that support me are, I want to make the content for you because I want to bring you guys entertainment, because I know you guys, you know, work hard at school or at your jobs, and you want to come home, you want to watch cool videos, interesting videos, or you just want consumer advice. You want unbiased and honest advice on products. Which is what I'm always going to bring, and so you can make informed decisions, and that's why I've tried to make my channel as much of a consumer advice sort of channel as possible, with facts and opinions, but always basing my opinions off the facts. So showing you guys the facts first, and then giving my opinion in the conclusion of each video, and kind of making recommendations, which some other tech YouTubers don't like to do in terms of recommendations, because they might have deals with certain companies that they don't want to put in jeopardy, or they simply just don't like putting their own personal opinion in there, where I quite like it. I like telling you guys what's the best thing to get, because at the end of the day, I want to help you out and let you guys know what products are good and what ones aren't so good, and so you can make the right choices there. So
well, I mean,
yeah.
the days of just buying a PC magazine, as I have here, those days have all changed now. I mean, like, I will go onto YouTube. Since the last time we talked, I've upgraded my rig big time, and a lot of those purchasing decisions were based on you and others like you. And then, and as you had said, and it's completely standard to do, the same way you'll get a few magazines, you'll also check a few YouTubers and see what they say and get your average from all of those. And yeah, based on your recommendations, I have made hardware purchases. So you're not just for entertainment, you well and truly are giving advice, and that's the good thing about it, because that's our generation. That's how we now check for reviews. That's where we get our information, you know. And you providing that is a good thing and a fantastic thing, and largely unbiased, which is also really good, as best as possible for most of the YouTubers.
Yeah, I think it's most of the tech YouTubers are pretty good guys and try to bring sort of fair content. It's always just about making sure you guys know what's good and what's not, and that's the whole point, is to really show you guys that this is the CPU you should get, or this is the one you should get. Things are always changing, so I think another reason why some tech YouTubers won't put opinions out there is because things can change over time. So maybe the videos might not age as well. That's a big reason why some tech YouTubers won't include prices in their videos, even though I do, because I feel it's important, but others don't, because pricing will change over time. But so that's sort of a thing there. But overall, in terms of what you're getting back to your question, the reaction for the most part is mixed, depending on the person. Some people think it's you're not really doing anything, but then you got to make it relative. I mean, people go on about how much money PewDiePie, for example, might make, or they claim that he makes. But then they won't go on about TV show stars making his entire salary per episode, his entire yearly income per episode. And they say, well, he's not doing that much. And I mean, that guy works hard. I mean, Felix is putting out like a video a day, pretty much. And these TV stars, they get his entire salary, a yearly income in one episode or 2 episodes of their show. And that might have only taken them 1 week, 4 days of rehearsal and then 1 day of shooting, if it's like a sitcom or something. So that it's all relative. I think that when you think about it, when you compare it to television, for example, you kind of you can kind of think, well, okay, maybe these YouTubers aren't so overpaid, considering they put out all these videos year long, compared to these TV stars that maybe do 2 episodes and earn the same amount of money on a big TV show. So it's all relative, but for the most part, younger people have been very supportive of it, and they understand. But some older people, but it'll change over time as the older generation start consuming more and more online content and moving away from traditional media.
The old formats, yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the hardware world at the moment. It's been very turbulent times. I think the last time we talked, Ryzen was just kicking off. But now Intel has released their lines of new i9s. Ryzen, AMD coming out with more and more. Vega on the doorstep, but not exactly sure when that's going to come out. It's been a very hectic 4 months, or 5 months, going back even. It's been crazy at the moment. That must be... on the one hand, good for material for you, but on the other hand, nightmare. Where do you even start? Like, it's just nuts at the moment. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, that's an awesome question because, yeah, you are right. It's been good in the sense of that all tech YouTubers this year have been loving it in terms of content. I think all of us have seen a boost in subs. All tech channels across the board have been doing quite well.
Yep.
And that is mainly due to the fact that we've had so much good stuff coming out. And it's been really fun to test, especially Ryzen has been absolutely fantastic. It's been a fantastic year. The GPU market has remained somewhat sort of still this year so far, so to speak. We have Vega, and then we'll have Volta probably by Q4 this year. So that it will hot up a bit, but it's the CPU market. That's where, as you're saying, that's where it's gotten really hot, and it needed to because it's just been stagnant for so long with Intel's near monopoly. It's been very, very good in that aspect. AMD has come out big time. This is a very big corporate turnaround. I mean, you can just look at AMD's share prices if you guys know about them. Yeah. I mean, it went from not much to heaps now. I mean, there's quite a few people out there made a lot of money buying AMD shares. So that's really good. The Ryzen CPUs are fantastic value for money. The Ryzen 5 1600 is probably the best value for money CPU you can buy right now. Equally, the Ryzen 7 1700 is also a very good value for money CPU. And I myself are in talks right now about AMD Threadripper. So there's the 16 core, which looks quite interesting to me. Intel, on the other hand, seems to have panicked and then shot themselves in the foot. Yeah. So the Ryzen CPUs came out, and everybody was expecting Skylake X, their high-end CPUs, to really hit back hard. And we all thought the i9s would do that. But it's just not worked out that well. The 7900X is a very powerful CPU, but due to the fact it's not soldered down, it has a thermal interface material, it just runs so hot. It is unbelievable. I've never run a CPU so hot before, and boy, does it draw a lot of power as well. I think it was starting to overheat my H115i, which I've never seen before, because it was going up to like 100 degrees Celsius. It's just crazy. It's just such a hot CPU. Steve at Hardware Unboxed had to make a full custom loop just to get the thing under control. People are delidding them, but I would feel very scared of delidding a $1,000 US CPU in case I broke it. But you shouldn't need to. I mean, the fact that AMD's Ryzen 3 budget CPUs are soldered down and yet Intel's $1,000 10 core is pretty shocking. So yeah, it just seems like they've had the wrong idea about a lot of things. I hope, for the sake of it, that Intel comes back with a good sort of counterpunch, because that's what you want. You don't want to be a fanboy for one side or the other. I think we're all happy that AMD's come back and they're actually giving Intel a big kick up the backside. But you don't want one company to be dominant over the other. Like, for example, you wouldn't want AMD to completely dominate the CPU market and take it all away from Intel. Completely, that is. You do like a good 50-50 mix, and for them to be constantly challenging each other.
Yeah, exactly.
In terms of that. So they're both innovating. They're both trying to outdo each other. There's competition, which competition's always good. Brings down prices. That's always good for everybody. The consumers always win that way. So you always want that. And yeah, that's basically it. I would say that I will assume once Intel starts seeing their market share drop in terms of the CPU market, they will start to take notice, and then they're going to throw some serious money behind a big counterpunch with Coffee Lake, hopefully, and they'll start hitting back and giving AMD a run for their money then. But Intel's definitely been sitting pretty for too long. They haven't been innovating. They've been caught with their pants down, and they do need to get it back together. So for right now, AMD is king. They've dethroned Intel, and Intel needs to come out with something, because otherwise, if AMD carry on like this, Intel is going to start losing more and more of their market share, which is quite. I mean, how many times do you see monopolies really crumble and lose their market share once they establish themselves? They're usually sort of too big to ever lose that.
Exactly. Yeah.
That market share, and now it's happening. So yeah, they've really brought it upon themselves, which Nvidia have not done by the same token. Nvidia have not been sitting on their hands, that's for sure. They with Pascal, they really hit it. I mean, they said the R&D for that was $1 billion they chucked into it.
Whoa.
So
Yeah.
Nvidia really is. They know they're dominant, but they didn't make the same mistake of sitting around and waiting for AMD to catch up. They're trying to keep ahead and pull their lead even further ahead. So that's been good in the sense of they've innovated a lot, and Pascal was a huge jump forward. But it's also been kind of bad because they raised prices at the same time because they didn't have the competition. And obviously in a capitalist system, you always want that competition, bring prices down. That works out great for everybody. So yeah, it's been an interesting time. But yeah, so it's been good. I kind of worry that we're going to have this crazy year. 2017 is just going to be crazy for tech. And next year we're going to have, it's like this year's the flood and next year will be the drought because we'll have so much crazy stuff out here. That next year we won't have enough stuff to review and everyone will have to go back to reviewing like printers and stuff and other things just to get by. But I don't see that happening because I think it might have actually, this has just heated up the market so much now in terms of competition that both sides are going to be trying to get out the newest things as quick as they can to try outdo the other one.
Well, interesting times ahead anyway, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And tell me, because you do run a channel that provides information, you will still get some contrarian views on your site, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I guess part and parcel of being an online presence would be trolling to a certain degree, that kind of thing as well. And we know that unfortunately there is a segment of the internet which can't help itself. Do you find that this has become more difficult or anything like that? Or because you moderate your content on your channel, don't you? Anything that's not pertinent to discussion or facts is to be removed. Am I right?
Yeah, so with my channel, I don't like comments. Basically, it's like this. People will come on and you can look through all of my videos and look through the comments and you'll see plenty of negative ones towards me or people with a different opinion to mine or criticizing my opinions or whatever like that. And those ones are all fine. I'll remove comments that are just people being basically toxic. So because of, I know there's a lot of younger viewers that watch my videos because I can see it through the analytics. And also because I have younger family members of mine that watch my videos, and I don't want them seeing comments and stuff that are basically, a whole bunch of swearing and calling me different names and saying horrible things. I know a lot of other YouTubers will leave comments like them alone and they'll just say, well, it's freedom of speech, but personally, I don't see that. It doesn't add anything to the discussion. Yeah. Usually it incites my own viewers who are watching my content and are trying to be sensible. They will then go on and try to defend me and then they get attacked and it turns into a big argument in the comments. And I don't like that. YouTubers generally will leave that because the more comments a video gets will help it. So they like it when people are all fighting in the comments. But I don't particularly like that, and I don't think that's a good way to run a channel. So people can come on and criticize me as much as they want, and that's just fine, but I don't like it when people go on and just say horrible things for no reason. They're not trying to make a point. They're just trying to hurt your feelings or just say something that will hurt somebody else's feelings. Or you get, people go on and they'll say horrible, racist things or other things like that. You don't need that stuff on your channel. So I don't see that as being too harsh on people by moderating that side of it. I would say that it would be too much. I see a lot of, not a lot, but I see some YouTubers who will just remove or block people that say anything negative to them. They'll just get rid of them because they can't handle. They just all want yes men in their comment section, and I think that's not ideal. If you've got a valid argument or something like that, then you should be able to voice it. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I see both sides of it, and I know other tech YouTubers that do what I do, and the other ones that just don't moderate their comments at all and just let anything slide. And I do understand both sides of it. It just is up to those individuals. But the sort of third lot of people that just remove anything that's in any way criticizing them, I would never do that, and I don't think that's good, because
that's quite disingenuous.
It is. You're not going to get better at being a YouTuber if you only want people to tell you the things you're doing right. You want them to challenge you and tell you what you're doing wrong. If they get a bunch of comments saying, you could up your audio, quality, or your video quality, or things like that. And I do take a lot of those into consideration. I've made many changes on the channel due to what the fans have told me. Usually it's not just one fan telling me something, but if I see, say, 10 comments all with the same sort of thing, then I will take that into consideration of people saying, well, I wish you would do this in the video. Then after a while, if I keep seeing comments like that, then I will make that change, because obviously people are wanting that. So yeah, I think that's the thing you always need to take in. No one likes criticism, so to speak. You'd always rather a compliment than criticism. Of course, Of course. But it's good to get it. To get constructive criticism is much better than the compliment, from the fact of that you'll be able to make your YouTube channel better from there, rather than a compliment. All that's going to do is make you maybe feel good about yourself. And that's still good to have, and no one just wants all their comments to be constructive criticism, but you want some people to acknowledge what you're doing right. So that's always good, and it reminds you of what you are doing good, and that not everything you're doing is bad. But you do always want those people to come on, and other tech YouTubers I've talked to have been quite good about that. You can often talk to other YouTubers about it and say, hey, can you be honest with me? How do you think I could improve my content? And they usually, a lot of them are really good guys in that, so they'll tell you straight away, well, hey, I think I would change this if I were you, and I think this would really improve your videos, and that's good. You don't want to be, it's not personal or anything like that. You never take it that way. It's just, that's how you improve. You got to do those things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And tell me, for yourself and your channel, long term might be a little bit difficult to gauge because who knows where this type of media will take us. But short term to medium term, where do you see yourself and the channel going? Is there any other hopes, expansions that you might think of actually adding to the channel, or is there anything that or even a theme change or anything like that? It's like, where do you want to take this? Have you given it actually any long-term thought? I know you came into it kind of naturally. One thing led to the next, and before you know it, you're a full-time YouTuber. But have you thought 5 years down the line, 6, 7 years down the line, or anything like that, and say, no, this is what I want. I want to review Empire, or I want to have 10 different channels, or I want to keep going for now as it is?
Yeah, so I want to keep the channel. I think a big thing I've seen a lot of YouTubers do wrong is the channel, their recipe, so to speak, what they're doing is working, and then they completely change it because they think they're heading in the wrong direction. Yeah. And sometimes that works out better. And the channel grows, after they make the change, it goes a lot better. But other times you'll notice that they'll have a huge drop off because they've changed what made the people come to their channel in the first place. And that's not ideal. So for me, I want to keep the same recipe, so to speak, in that the channel is called Tech Showdown. I want to keep comparing CPUs and GPUs mainly. That's sort of like the cornerstone of the channel. But of course do other hardware reviews and that as well. But I just want to keep improving on that in terms of the actual quality of the content itself. So in terms of how I present it, so better lighting and cameras and audio and editing and everything. But the core recipe will stay the same, in that I will still keep doing that, because it's not all just about what gets views and that. It's what made you do it in the first place. And this is what I enjoy. This is how I like doing my videos. So that's kind of what I want to do. In terms of expanding the channel, I have got 2 ideas for expansions, which will open up, that are outside of computers and hardware, which I am just keeping to myself for now.
Sure.
And I don't want it to be public yet, because they're still sort of in the works. They're in 2 other fields which I have quite a bit of knowledge in. But I feel like I still need to keep building up Tech Showdown first before I expand. It's kind of like a small business. You never want to expand too quickly and overextend yourself, because then you might open up your second shop or whatever, and then they both fall down because you didn't have that core, the first shop sort of ready. It wasn't, the foundation wasn't there. It wasn't built up enough first. And so I want to make sure Tech Showdown's big enough. So I unless something changes or I go into a partnership, most likely I won't expand to a second channel until Tech Showdown's over 50,000 subscribers. And then I feel like that would be a nice time to maybe start another channel then, and move into that. But in my mind, sort of my 5-year plan, as you're asking, I haven't had any sort of specifics in mind, but it would be quite cool to have the 3 channels running then, and being able to fill up my time with that. I don't know how I would, considering that even right now with Tech Showdown, my days are pretty jam-packed a lot of times. I usually only take 1 day off a week, so I'm doing stuff. So I'll do a video one day, but then I'll do testing the next day after that, or I'll have to switch out equipment or other things. So, but I'm sure I can find time to do stuff like that. So I do look forward to it though, and that's kind of my plan, is hopefully to expand and have 3 channels. I think are quite good. And just to let you guys know, it's not going to be, one of them won't be a personal channel, a personal second vlog channel like a lot of YouTubers do. That's never interested me. I just don't. It's nothing against vloggers or anything like that. I watch vlog channels, and I understand the appeal totally. But
I wanna see you feed your cat, man.
Yeah,
this is the one thing in my life I'm waiting for.
I think it would just be so boring, because it would just be me waking up with something and then building up a system and doing tests with, say, 2 CPUs or something, building up 2 test systems, doing the testing, sitting down, doing the benchmarking, then maybe doing some housework, and then
it's just you staring at a screen, eating cereal. That's it.
and then maybe shooting a video or something. I think that's a problem with. I think it's actually a problem a lot of vloggers have, is that they daily vloggers, why they get burnt out is because they got to constantly try and make the videos interesting. When most of us, if you really think about it, unless you're doing something very exciting in your life, your day-to-day sort of life is actually quite boring in terms of if someone was to actually watch it, unless you're an extremely entertaining person that could make anything fun. That's kind of it. So, or if you're extremely rich or something, I guess people would enjoy watching it as well. So there's that side of it. But no, they're in. It would be the 2 channels I would expand to would be still doing reviews, so to speak, reviewing things, but not within computers, hardware. It would be within 2 other sort of fields, and that's basically all I'd like to say right now about it.
Cool. Well, when it happens, we will be there to watch it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And tell me, what is your advice? What was your No, this question kind of breaks down into two parts. One of which, how did you find the beginning, getting set up, watching your subscribers grow, and of course the growing pains associated with it, equipment costs at the time, at the very beginning. What was the growing part like, or the beginning part of it, and now, how do you find? What advice do you have now looking back? What have you learned, and what would you say to other people starting new channels, starting new shows, whatever it may be? What are the key points to remember, and what have you learned from the stress testing at the very beginning?
Yeah, so because I kind of slid into this rather than certain channels have sort of, people have thought, okay, I'm starting a YouTube channel, they got everything set up, and then they've just started with basically a big bang straight away, where I kind of slowly sort of slid into it. So I started with doing the filming on the webcam rather than using cameras and using the mic on the webcam or on my headphones or something. So I slid into it much more slowly, and I was doing my B-roll back then on my phone. So it can be a good way to start, because then you're not, where would I put it? You're not over-invested. Whereas if you go out and buy all this equipment and you come in with a big bang and then nothing happens, then you might have spent a lot of money on this stuff. So that, as it progressed, I would say it definitely gets easier as you get bigger in terms of the growth. It's kind of a snowball effect, unless you do something wrong that to slow that down, or you change anything up, or something like that. It should snowball, and every, say, 1,000 subs you get should get easier and easier as the channel gets bigger and bigger. But I would say that at the same time, your workload you get more and more workload as it gets bigger, because the viewers, they expect more and more, basically. They expect better quality, better editing, more benchmarks, in the case of tech YouTubers and stuff. They're constantly looking for the channel to get better and better, because, of course, not only for yourself, but because other tech YouTubers are doing that too. And the platform's big enough for all of us. We don't need to be at each other's throats, but we still are in competition, so to speak, in terms of that. It is an oversaturated platform, and we're all kind of vying for that, for attention from a certain perspective. So you need to be constantly getting better and better in terms of your quality, just to keep up with everybody else, and for yourself as well. So your workload gets larger and larger. You'll notice that over your how long it takes you to make a video will get sort of maybe 10 or 20% longer for every kind of like maybe 5,000 subscribers you get or something. So it can actually, I would say, how long it probably takes me about 90% longer now to make a video as it did when I had 1,000 subscribers. It's just a much longer process, because I do much more. It's much more involved. And you don't notice it, because unless you make big changes, like, you're only just adding on one little thing each time. So you don't notice it until you go back and watch an old video, and then you'll be like, wow, I can't believe anybody even watched this, like the quality would be so bad, and everything else. So, and you haven't noticed you've taken all those steps to make it better. But that's sort of the give and take, I suppose. So as you get larger, it becomes easier to gain more subscribers and viewers, because your channel's larger. There's not as many large channels as there are, very small channels out there with, say, less than 100 subscribers. There's heaps of them, but there's not many that, say, have over 10,000 subscribers. Not as many, that's for sure. So that makes it easier. But then, of course, your workload increases. I suppose for some genres of YouTube, that's not the case, but for tech YouTubers it is. So that's something to keep in mind. To the second part about things that you should was it keep in mind when you first start how you should start, how I would change it if I'd redone it? Was that the question?
Kind of, yeah. If like, what have you learned from your beginnings now?
Yes. Yeah. So I would say if I could go back and redo anything, or my advice for new YouTubers, and I'll apply this mainly to tech YouTubers, but it goes for all of them as well. I would say is to run the channel as pretend that you have, if possible, like 100,000 subscribers, even if you only have 100.
Yeah.
Run the channel as if it's a big channel. Don't just think, well, I have 100 subscribers, so I don't need to make content of the same quality as someone with 100,000 subscribers. That's not the right mindset to have. Yeah. Make the content that try to copy and make content like a big channel would. So just imagine your channel is a big channel and what content you would bring. Because if you have that mindset, then your channel will grow into a big one. And I wish I had that. Basically, in my case, I wish I had actually thought about it and really committed to it early on, got on a camera, really tried to make high-quality videos from the onset, rather than this very slow progression I had with upgrading my content. And even some people now say that I'm still progressing quite slowly. For me personally, I've always been scared of changing too fast and alienating my audience, just a personal worry of mine. So I have moved slower than other YouTubers have in terms of making the content higher and higher quality. But for the most part, I think that's the best advice I can give. And that doesn't, for tech YouTubers, that's important, but for all of them as well. It doesn't matter if you're just doing a vlog or anything. You want to look at what the big guys are doing, see what they're doing right, and then try to emulate. You don't need to fully copy them. You always need to throw in your own flair. And especially if you're unique, that's going to make you stand out in an overcrowded field. That's always a good thing. If you're doing something different, you definitely want to do that. But just have that mindset, I would say. That's my best advice.
Excellent. Well, okay, what we'll do is we'll come to wrap it up nice and slowly, but what I would like to give you is a couple of seconds to plug what it is that you're plugging right now.
Well, just my channel. So if you haven't checked it out, it's Tech Showdown. I've been running it now about 3 years, I think, 2.5 to 3 years. So I'm mainly doing hardware reviews, so computer hardware and things like that, your CPUs, GPUs, motherboards, all of that type of stuff. I try to run a very fair channel, a very balanced channel. It's mainly centered around consumer advice, because that's what's important. I think at the end of the day is giving you guys all the information you have so that you're armed with that when you go online or into the shop to make your purchasing decisions, I should say. And that's basically what I try to do, so to inform you guys as much as possible and do it in a way that's entertaining as well and informative, so that you guys can enjoy it and learn things at the same time. So that's always been my goal for the channel, and that's one I continue to do, is bring that kind of content for you guys.
Excellent. Well, fantastic, fantastic info, and thank you very much for the tips. I'm sure a lot of people listening might actually be quite appreciative of that. And it's not every day that you see all these YouTubers all the time, but it's not very often you get to actually interface with them one to one. So it's nice to actually to meet and actually have a talk about the industry as such, you know. So I would like to thank you very kindly for your time, and hopefully we'll be having another interview at some stage, so we can do a bit of a check-in how it is that you're doing, maybe in 6 months or something, whatever it may be. But I'd love to chat to you again, that's for sure.
No, you just set the time, man. It's been really good. I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, and there's a lot going on in tech right now. So if you're a person maybe thinking about it, you know, you're thinking, oh, maybe I'll get a gaming PC, but I'm not too sure. Trust me, now is the time. It's a good time to be in PC tech right now. There's a lot of fun stuff going on. A lot of great great parts out there, you know, for not much money, and you can build yourself a very, very good gaming PC for a lot less than a lot of you guys, I think, might actually think it might cost. These days, it's gotten very competitive, so you can build a pretty potent PC for not much money. So yeah, it's a good time to get into PC hardware right now.
Exactly. And go to Tech Showdown and check out the reviews to make sure you make the right purchasing decisions.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, of course.
Kevin, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you again very soon.
Thanks, Shane.
You managed to listen to the Rum Boys talk on Random Urban Memories. Just like and subscribe where you can on all platforms.